What I'd like to talk today about is tobacco. Now, tobacco is a leafy green plant that's picked, dried, grounded up, and used in many ways. These many ways consist of putting in cigarettes, pipes, cigars, even chewing it. Now, once it gets into the bloodstream, because it's chewed or smoked, nicotine stimulates the heart, narrows the blood vessels, which makes the blood pressure increase. Also activates high dopamine levels, also called the pleasure molecule. But why did it become so popular, and where did it come from? Where did it come from? Well, around 6000 BC, North and South America, but it didn't take until 1 BC for Native Americans to actually find it and use it for religious and medical practices. The medical practices consisted of coating wounds as painkillers. Also, when you chewed it, it actually relieved toothaches. But until 1492, Christopher Columbus was actually gifted by Native Americans, and then he brought it back to Europe. It didn't take long for Europe to actually spread it all around. Why it became so popular was because it became a cash crop, and this cash crop was pretty cheap, because around 1 ounce only equaled 300,000 of tobacco seeds. They're very small. How it also became popular was by a man in the 1800s called Washington Duke, first man to advertise on his farm for hand-rolled cigarettes to soldiers at the end of Civil War. But up until 1881, James Bonsack created a cigarette making machine to help the hand-rolled cigarettes by about 120,000 cigarettes per day, 10 million a year, and billion in 5 years. Selling to men in World War I to World War II, by the 1900s, other cigarette companies started selling to women, which helped women in their independence a lot, because they actually started smoking in offices. After that, in 1964, a doctor in the U.S. who attended for soldiers reported the dangers of the nicotine and tar levels that are leading cause to cancer. With the doctor's report out around 1980s, competition broke loose called Tar Wars. But because of Tar Wars, it was because of one company that created a cigarette with low amounts of tar. So the Tar Wars was because every other company wanted to be the best. But because hundreds of cigarettes kept coming with new brands of ultra low and low tar, CDC passed another law stating that every 3 months needed a warning label, a new warning label. But because they were making 4 labels to rotate between, CDC made sure that they couldn't use television or radio stations anymore for their tobacco ads. Now 1992 came, an amendment was out for distribution that they could not sell or distribute tobacco products to underage people. Pretty much anyone was a fair customer. But these are the non-smokers, also called secondhand smokers. This is the same tobacco laws and control programs. This is to help those that are under age of 18. Those are for the women that are pregnant, so that it would not have the chance of diseases, disabilities for any new generation that would come out because a female stood near a person smoking. From up to this point of what we know a cigarette now can do from back then, where we thought medical practices of tobacco was actually used for cures of almost any disease, when it was the leading cause of cancer because of tar, main addiction was nicotine. But yet, with all this information we still know of, there are still plenty of people out there that are still willing to use this harmful drug to cause it to themselves and others.